All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. This is the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what's coming at you. And today we're going to wrap up our preseason 12-team previews. We got the UAPB Golden Lions. We're going to close this thing on out, man. It's been a nice little run doing these. So we're going to go ahead and wrap these up because in a couple weeks we have actual college football coming at you. Got the MEAC SWAC Challenge coming up in a couple Saturdays, so we're going to start to focus on that. Just a little update on what's coming on the schedule for us. Wednesday, I'm going to be dropping my preseason All SWAC team, and I'm going to drop my first HBCU poll. I'm going to try to update it throughout the season. If you want to be, if you want to be down with that, and I'm thinking about starting a kind of like an informal poll, just for fun between everybody. So if you want to be down with that, man, once you hit that subscribe button and then hit that join button to become a member, because we're gonna have some good things coming during the season. I'm gonna try to do a poll between, with a lot of the members. We'll try to have a pick and a couple other things coming down the pipe. So we have 2 tiers that you can choose to become a member. So hit that subscribe button first if you haven't did that yet. And then hit that join button to become a member. Don't forget to hit that like button, like the video, and feel free to comment on what your thoughts on UAPB. And check out those socials. Got Facebook, SWAC Talk, Instagram, SWAC Talk, X, Twitter, whatever, SWAC Talk 76. So you can go ahead and check those out. Give them a like and a follow. And, man, we're going to go ahead and jump directly into this, man. We're not going to waste no time. We're going to start off this show talking about UAPB. Last season, man, this team finished 3-8, 1-7 in conference. Started off the season undefeated. Started off 2-0. They beat Lane and they beat North American University, and then the bottom fell out and they lost 8 straight games before they closed out their 2022 season, defeating Alabama State in the Turkey Day Classic. And because of that, they let go Doc Gamble, who took over for Cedric Thomas when he left. Doc Gamble took over in the spring of 2021, led them to a West Division championship, and then after that, 2 straight losing seasons, and the team just did not look good. But last season, this offense averaged 22.7 points per game, which was 8th in the league. They were 11th in scoring defense at 35.9 points allowed per game. Total offense, they were 9th at 316.7 yards per game, average 4.7 yards per play. Their defense was last in total defense, allowing 449 yards per game, 6.7 yards per play. Both of those were the worst numbers in the league. They also gave up 54 touchdowns, which was the most also in the league. Their running game was actually individually, they had one of the top running backs, Kayvon Britton, but as a team, they were 10th in the league in rushing. That's hard to pull off when you have a back who finished 2nd in the league in rushing. The rest of the team just did not do anything with the run game, so they finished 10th in the league at 141 yards per game, average 4.2 yards per carry. Scored 22 touchdowns, which was actually those 22 touchdowns were the 4th most. So they were able to score points with the run game, but they just, as a team, could not run the ball well. They finished last in rushing defense, allowing 244.3 yards per game and allowed 5.9 yards per carry, which was 1 full yard more than the 2nd worst team. So this team was very, very bad against the run. Passing offense, they were 7th at 174 yards per game. They threw 8 touchdowns on the season, which were the fewest in the league. and they had 13 interceptions, which was the second most in the league. Completed 51% of their passes. That was one of the lowest marks in the league. The pass defense, they were 10th, 204 yards per game, allowed 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 60% completion rate. So teams could pick their poison against Pine Bluff. They could run the ball on them, they could throw the ball on them, whatever they wanted to do. Teams were able to do it. They were actually pretty solid in the return game. They were fifth in kickoff returns, averaging 20.7 yards per return. They did have a kick return touchdown. Punt returns, they were second at 13.2 yards per return. They allowed 27 sacks, which was seventh in the league, and they registered 21 sacks, which was 10th in the league. So the pass rush just was not there for them. The offensive line was relatively young, other than Mark Evans, who was probably the best offensive lineman in the conference. Other than him, this offensive line was relatively young, so they're going to continue to grow and develop. Third down conversion rate, they were ninth at 31.5%. They were 11th in third down defense at 44%. And fourth down offense, they were 11th at 27%. So they converted 27% on fourth downs. They just could not convert on third or fourth down. The defense was actually first in fourth down conversion rate at 27%. They didn't face a lot of fourth downs as a defense. They actually faced the second fewest amount of fourth downs, but they were pretty solid on fourth down. The problem was teams converted on third down more anyway. So if a team got the fourth down, then they had a better chance of getting a stop there. They were actually a pretty solid red zone team on offense. They were fifth in the league in red zone offense, 30 of 43 for 69%, 21 touchdowns, 19 running, 2 passing. They were 9 of 15 on extra points in the red zone. They kicked the most field goals in the red zone with 15, which shows that sometimes they just couldn't really get things done. And they turned the ball over 6 times in the red zone, 1 fumble and 5 turnover on downs. The red zone defense was 10th, 34 42, 81%, 31 touchdowns, which is the second most allowed, the third most allowed in the league. 18 touchdowns on the ground for opponents, 13 passing. Opponents only kicked 5 field goals. They were 3 of 5. And the opponents turned the ball over 5 times, 1 fumble, 2 interceptions, and 2 turnovers on downs. Looking at this team individually, they lose basically everybody who was anybody in the run game. You lose Kayvon Britton, who was the second leading rusher in the league. You lose Skylar Perry, who was your starting quarterback, who was your second leading rusher. You lose a guy like Raekwon Prince, who was your leading receiver, and also one of your top punt return guys. So you don't return a lot, in terms of you don't return a lot in terms of ability, in terms of production. This team is honestly starting over in a lot of ways. They didn't bring in a big signing class. They signed like 5 guys on signing day. I think it's the early signing period. They signed like 5 guys. They were able to dip in the portal a little bit. They got 2 receivers from out of Grambling. So that that's something that can, those guys maybe could help them. Clark Coleman and Donald Johnson, they both are guys who can help this offense. If you find somebody to throw the ball, this team struggled at quarterback. Skylar Perry was banged up for multiple games. Also didn't have his best season. So they were able to play 2 freshmen last season, Jalen Macon, who got injured, but he was 24 44 for 303 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Chancellor Edwards, 20 of 46, 184 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So there's youth. There's youth at that position. They want to run a higher tempo offense at times. So whoever is the quarterback is going to have to be a guy that takes care of the ball. I mean, you can't throw as many interceptions as this team did and not put the ball in the end zone. So you're going to have to find a way to be more efficient offensively. You're going to have to find a way for your running game to improve because you're starting over fresh. Um, that's one thing that I think you really want to have to. You kind of took an unexpected loss with Bridges going in the portal, so that you're losing a guy like that, but you're bringing in a guy like Michael Jamerson who transferred over from Campbell. He didn't play last year, but he was a pretty solid back the previous year. So maybe he'll be the guy who steps up and takes that role. Offensively, it's anybody's game. I think it's playing time all around on offense. Offensive line, returns a lot of guys who played a lot, but they were young, so they're going to continue to get better. Defensively, things are, I want to say they're brighter, but the defense was not good last season. Like I said, you were ranked low in almost everything defensively. So is it a good thing that these guys return? I mean, obviously these guys have an opportunity to get better. They did play guys last season who probably shouldn't have been out there due to injuries. But they do return a guy like Rico Dozier, who is an all-conference guy. He has 78 tackles on the season, 11 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. You also return Grant Ewell and Sincere Jones. Kendarius Clark is your top defensive lineman, returning with 46 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. Those 4.5 sacks did lead the team. So you have some pieces there, but there's still a lot, missing with this team, and that's why I feel like first and foremost, it all starts and ends with the head coach. You got a new head coach in Alonzo Hampton. What is he going to be able to do as a head coach? He hasn't really. This is his first time being a head coach, on this level. So you're looking at a guy who you need to figure him out. He does come in with some great energy, and he's embracing being ranked last. He's embracing it, and he's trying to instill that motivation in his guys. But it still ultimately is going to come down to, can he get the job done on the field with this team? He was he's only been a coordinator once, and that was for 1 year at Pine Bluff. Other than that, he's been a position coach, which is no knock. But he hasn't really been able to move his way up the ladder. So we'll see. We'll see what he can do. This is a tough job. I think this is a rebuild. This is a start over. This team lost a lot of guys in the last couple of years to the portal, and they've fallen on really hard times. So just like I said with my Bethune-Cookman preview and my Valley preview, to me this is more of a year zero. If you're a Pine Bluff fan, you're probably like, man, I see us winning, 4, 5 games, and we'll talk about the schedule in a minute, but I feel like the team has to match the energy that Coach Hampton is putting out. Can they embrace being picked last? Can they embrace being an underdog? Can they be competitive in games and keep games close enough that they can steal some games? Because that's one of the things that this team is gonna have to do. They're gonna have to compete. They're gonna have to find ways to win. Everything is an unknown with this team, so that can work in their favor if they embrace being the team that don't nobody know. They weren't super active in the portal, and their first signing class wasn't that big, so there's still gonna be some depth problems there. A lot of new faces on the offense, especially. Guys are gonna have to take charge at certain positions. You need playmakers in this offense because you lost all your leaders statistically on this offense. So you have to find somebody to be a playmaker in all phases of the offense. And the defense has to improve. They have to improve the pass rush. They have to be able to stop the run better. Um, they just, everything about this team has to get better. And sometimes when you're down, there's nowhere to go but up. And that's the key to this team. Can you move up? Or are you gonna be stuck in a losing mentality and a losing position? Because it's not easy. For this is not an easy job anyway. But when you're basically starting over from scratch, it makes the job harder. So we're gonna go ahead and move into the schedule because there's not a lot to really say about a team that's basically starting over fresh. So it's a lot of what happened last year you can throw out. So hopefully, you can throw out some of those defensive performances and hope that this team is better. Looking at the schedule for this season, they open up on a Thursday night at Tulsa. That's that's a tough game in terms of being an FBS game, period. But that's honestly a extra tough game when you're a team who is starting completely over and coming off of 2 losing seasons. So I really look at this as being a game that you want to come out and just play as clean as you can. Start to find your playmakers. See how these guys respond to adversity, and just play as clean of a game as you can. And if you can put up some points, then that's even better because that'll help you moving forward. Because your next game is a big game against Tennessee State on September 9th. Excuse me, on September 9th against Tennessee State. So you get you get a few extra days, coming off of a Thursday night game. You get a couple extra days to prepare for this game. And the cliche is teams improve more between their first and second games than any other time of season. So you gotta kind of hope that's true. And you're facing a Tennessee State team that's coming off of a game against Notre Dame, so they're coming off of an FBS game. You're coming off an FBS game. You just see what happens. But right now, I just things are too unstable for me right now. Tennessee State's defense is going to be a very, very good defense. So that's a tough matchup for Pine Bluff there. This is probably the biggest game on the schedule, honestly, at this point, and that's September 16th against Miles. You have to win this game, just like Savannah State and Bethune-Cookman, just like Central State and Valley, and even Delta State and Valley. These are games that you have to win. You cannot lose these D2 games because the wins are scarce when you look at the season on paper. The wins are scarce. So winning this D2 game could be the difference between winning a game and losing all your games. Because I don't really see a lot of wins on paper on this schedule. So this is a must win. This is a huge game in terms of momentum and in terms of just finding success. Not gonna be easy because Miles, they play tough and they're gonna give it their all. But you have to win that game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. September 21st on a Thursday night, short week. You got to go to Huntsville to take on the Bulldogs. This your first conference road game, your first conference game, and it's gonna be, it's gonna be a battle. Thursday night, another short week. Can you build on what you did in Miles? If you have a successful game against Miles, can you build on that? Playing on the road is gonna be tough early for a lot of these guys. So you really want to try to make the most out of this. A&M, you played them fairly close last season, so maybe you can do that again and find yourself in position. But you don't have a Kayvon Britton to run the ball like crazy like they did last season. So I like A&M in that game, and that brings you to September 30th at home against Southern. I think Southern's the better team in this matchup. Playing at home does help. You do have a really solid home schedule. Playing at home does help, but I think Southern wins that game, and that takes you to your bye week on October 7th. Coming off of that bye week, you get Valley on the road on October 14th. That's Valley's homecoming. Again, this is probably your only conference game on paper that I got as a 50-50 toss-up. So, you know, if your schedule, if you were looking for places to stack wins, this is the first place. Barring an upset, this is a must-win, honestly, for both teams because there's not a lot of wins for either team on paper. I think Pine Bluff can win that game. That's a toss-up game. I'm gonna give it to the Golden Lions. I think they can win that even on the road. I think it's gonna be one of those close games that anybody can win at the end. And I'm gonna go with Pine Bluff in that one right now. You come home for homecoming on the 21st against Alcorn. Crazy things happen when these two teams meet, but I think Alcorn is the better team. I got Alcorn winning the West, so I think they'll win that game. October 28th, you get Jackson State at home. Same thing with Jackson State that I say with Alcorn. This, again, you could play tough at home. You could, find some things to work out for you, but I think that Jackson State wins this game as well. And then November 4th, you're on the road at Prairie View. Another tough task. You have 4 games. Honestly, your last 5 games are very tough. Being able to find wins in that area are going to be few and far in between. I think you drop that Prairie View game, you come home to close out the home slate on a Friday, which means you got another short week. Coming off of a road game, you have a short week against Grambling on a Friday night. That could be interesting, depending on how Grambling is playing. You could have a chance. You were in this game against Grambling last year till about halftime, and then they pulled away. But I think Grambling also has too much for Pine Bluff right now, so I like Grambling in that one. And you close out the season on the road against Texas Southern on the 18th. I think TSU wins that game. They could be playing for an opportunity to make the SWAC championship, so I think they'll win that game. One thing about the schedule that stands out to me is the weekday games. You have 2 Thursday night games and a Friday night game. It's no big issue, but it's just kind of having so many games and on the weekday. It's kind of hard for one team, but when you're trying to make hay, you gotta do what you do. Like I said, I love their home schedule. You get Southern at home, you get Alcorn at home, you get Jackson State at home, you get Grambling at home. Your road slate is a little less tough, but you got to go to Prairie View and take Southern at the end of the season. You got to go to Alabama and you go to Valley. So they draw a tough slate in the conference. So I look at this team, and my prediction for them is 2-9, 1-7 in conference. I do think a couple of games they may be able to steal somewhere and finish 4-7. That's my ceiling. I don't really see it, but I think I wouldn't put any money on it. But looking at the games, and with the SWAC being the way it is, I can see them, maybe beating a couple of teams that they shouldn't. But right now, I think 2-9 is their where they're gonna be. I think their floor is 1-10. Again, that's that Miles game, man. If they don't win that Miles game, I don't think they win a game. So it's gonna be tough. Obviously, this is not the most glowing prediction for anybody, but right now, unless you're invested and there with the team, you don't really know what they got. So you gotta kind of hedge your bets a little bit, and you gotta kind of play it on that side. So I would love for Pine Bluff to come out and and win some games early and show people that they're gonna be tough to beat. So that pretty much does it for Pine Bluff, man. Like I said, it's a total guessing game for them right now. But we'll see, if Coach Hampton can get these guys fired up, get them, playing smart, get them playing tough, get them playing fast. And just keeping that energy up and building for next season, because you need to start. You need to start. You need to start building your team for next year. I'm not saying throw in the towel for this year, but this season can bleed into next season. So if you have a good season, which can be anywhere from 3 to 4 wins, maybe 5, who knows? But a solid season, a competitive season, can help lay the foundation for your future season. You cannot afford to have another season where you lose 8 games in a row. That cannot happen again. Because if it does, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're going to be even further behind everybody else. So you need to try to keep pace, and you got to try to find ways to be productive and consistent and competitive. So that's going to do it for our show today. We got our SWAC Smoke coming at you on Thursday live, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesday, I'm dropping my all SWAC team and my first HBCU poll. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Probably talk a little bit of transfer portal in there too. Make sure y'all hit those socials. Also, hit the subscribe button and hit that join button to become a member. And man, I appreciate y'all rocking with us, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.